So I believe that there's a couple different steps that can be really important to moving towards not only self-care, and I do want to differentiate between self-care and loving ourselves. So self-care can be any number of activities that we can engage in that can bring us a sense of peace, relaxation, joy, happiness. Um, it can be something as simple as going on a walk and being in nature. Self-love is a little different in that self-love is about an emotional connection with ourselves. So if you go on a walk in nature and you are talking to yourself and you're asking yourself, how do I feel in this moment right now? Then you're doing both self-care and self-love. But if you're just going on that nature walk and just enjoying nature, and you're not connecting to your emotions and your feelings, then you're not really engaging in emotional self-connection, which is what leads us to self-love.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charles Chudabala, and welcome to the Uncaged Mindset Podcast, where we interview lightworkers and healers who are out there radiating their light. They share their awakening stories. And today we have a very, very special guest. I am so excited because our very special guest today is a psychotherapist with over 14 years clinical experience, ranging from the private practice setting to college and university counseling centers. Some of her therapeutic approaches include, but are not limited to, mindfulness, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, family marital therapy, biofeedback, attachment theory, and so much more. She is a growing empire, spreading light to more and more communities every day. And when I listen to her speak, I feel so inspired to join her mission. Please welcome the CEO and founder of Joie de Vivre, Counseling for Women and Therapy, Monica Michelle Manuel.
Good morning, Charles, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. I'm super excited to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, well, thank you. It's an honor to have you here, Monica. And from one therapist to another, I have a background in therapy. I'm so excited to have a conversation about from someone actually working in the field right now, kind of like what you're seeing in terms of just the landscape and kind of mixing spirituality as it comes up in sessions. Where do you think it's going? But before we get to that, Monica, I would love for you to share your story, because first, when I met you a couple of weeks at a. Let's start with that. I met you a couple of weeks ago at a spiritual or business entrepreneurs meetup. It was covering a lot, but it was also so perfectly placed. Every single person there was meant to meet. Your story resonated with me so much, and I remember saying to you that I felt like there was a uniqueness to my story that nobody else shared. And while that may be true, that everybody has their own individual path and story, there were so many similarities in just my background as a therapist, in the work that I wanted to do, and in the spiritual space, and sometimes feeling a little bit limited, but feeling like I can do it, but how do I do it? Who do I link up with?
Yes.
So let's start there, Monica, if you don't mind sharing your story with everyone else, because it was so inspiring to me.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Charles. So I started my spiritual awakening when I was at the tail end of my college experience. I was feeling a little down one evening, and I was prompted to have the choice or decision to go out with some friends who just wanted to go partying and drinking. And the other option was to go hang out with some friends who were more creative, more artistic, really enjoyed painting and drawing. And I felt so much more aligned with that friend group. But it turned out that they were unavailable. And so I ended up going out with the friend group who we went to party, we went drinking, I got drunk. And I just felt that something was really off. There was something that I was longing for, but I couldn't put a word or expression to what I was feeling in that moment. And I said, well, I'll just get super drunk. And I did. And I came home and I passed out. And when I woke up, I felt just a vibration, a sort of a buzzing all around me, but it was warm, it was comfortable, and I saw colors of all different kinds and shades that were super bright, vibrant. And I heard a voice say, I love you. And it was an otherworldly voice. I knew that it was not a voice of this earth realm. And I immediately thought it was my mother had passed. And so I jumped up to call her and she answered the phone and I was like, hi, Mom, are you, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, okay. So I really wanted to know like what this voice was. And that started me on a path to learning more about spirituality. And what I've come to learn is that was the voice of source, of spirit, of God, but also my angels and my guides were all there in that moment, just sending me their love in my sense of sadness and disconnection from the universe.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful, Monica. That's so powerful. And when it's like when you hear his voice and it just touches your heart and there's no other way to put it into words, and you're getting like these messages and you're suddenly surrounded by your angels and guides. Like did you feel like scared during that time? Did you automatically accept it?
I automatically accepted it because there's a sense of knowing that comes with connection with spirituality.
Mm.
You just know, and the profound sense overwhelming grace and love and beauty and light that I felt in that moment, I knew that that was from source, that that had to be from God. I just knew it, when you know. And it really put me on a path. There was no fear for me in that moment. I just wanted to know more.
Mm. Wow. And as most awakening journeys go, that lines up the wanting to know more, and it sends you on a
Yes.
journey of wanting to know more, and it sends you on a journey of maybe meeting and connecting with the right people or doing your own research. What was next for you?
Well, what was next for me was I ended up moving to the Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland area. And I really got involved with the spiritual community that was up there, which was wonderful. I met and made friends. I ended up attending the metaphysical church. I started learning more about spiritual practices and even getting involved in like taking some Reiki and learning about that. I began attending some Buddhist meditation events and started learning more about mindfulness and meditation and how that could be helpful for me just to sit and be with spirit. And so it really took me on a complete journey from there. Yeah.
Oh, you immersed yourself, Monica.
I did, Charles.
You like completely immersed yourself. I mean,
Yes, I
and I
did.
see that like, and I sound surprised because I am, because sometimes often there's a little bit of toe dipping that happens where
Mm,
people will have these profound experiences. They want to know more, but they're like, but to go and join a church, like
mhm.
a metaphysical church, to go study Reiki. I mean, this it sounds like this happened within a pretty good quick time span for you.
It was. It was just within a couple months because I was wrapping up my last semester in college and
Mm.
I was going out into the world as a young adult. And I was moving from Georgia to the Maryland, Virginia, DC area, and there was such a rich spiritual community that had awaited me there in that area, and I just was fully immersed in that experience, and I met so many wonderful, amazing people. That was a time when I made so many great friends, and it was great. Yes.
Oh, I love how you said, that it awaited you there.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's what they say, when the student is ready, that the teacher will show up, or when
Mhm.
you communicate with yourself that you're ready and open to receive and take a step forward. It's I always tell people, caution, be careful what you ask for, be careful when you're ready, because it will show up. You have a choice to answer the calling or not. You have a choice to go back. You have a choice to take as much time as you need. But if you choose to move forward, be prepared for a tidal wave of ways in which you will be positioned to receive more.
Oh, absolutely. And if you ask for it, it will come. I remember walking into bookstores and books would literally just fall off the shelves and into my hands. And those were the ones that Spirit was wanting me to read.
Oh my, okay, now I have to ask. Like, which books, what books? I need a book.
um,
I'm asking for a book right now to fall for me.
yes, yes. So I don't remember the author, but it was a purple book that was on Ascension, which was one of the first books that fell into my hands. And it was just like, start here. We really want you to know more about this. And, I couldn't get enough information about spiritual path and spiritual journey. So I was just, those days, I was reading everything that I could get my hands on, from Deepak Chopra um, to so many different authors that inspired me and just helped me really to connect to the experience that I was having.
That's awesome, Monica. And were you already a practicing therapist at this point?
I was not. I was not a practicing therapist at this point. I didn't get into my journey as a therapist until several years later. I actually was still in the art world at that time. I was a intern at the Smithsonian Museum for African American History and Art for a little bit. And then I went on to be a public art consultant in Washington, D.C. And I really loved that work. I am a creator. I am a creative person, but there was something that was missing from that creativity, and I now understand it to be human connection and helping others to grow. And so I was still seeking what's my path, what's my purpose. And that led me to China, where I traveled there for a year and taught ESL, and I worked with elementary, middle school, high school, and college students. And it was during that time where I had a year in China. There was a lot of solitary moments and spiritual moments for me, but also the connection to my purpose of wanting to help other people grow at that time. And I became really involved in that. So when I came back to the States, that's when I decided to pursue a path of counseling and therapy.
Wow, Monica, one thing that comes up as you're telling me that story, like, besides the interesting life that you've had, moving from Georgia to Virginia to then China to teaching ESL, as I get this beautiful image in my mind about the throat chakra, and how the throat chakra not only is a conduit for manifestation, but to communicate not only our wants and needs, but a pathway to healing. And so much of therapy work is creating a safe space for your clients to discover the right words, to express their feelings, how they're feeling, and because feeling is healing. And in ESL and in China, it's like giving them the right words in which to communicate in the English language their wants, their needs, their desires too. You've been opening throat chakras all around the world.
Yes, wow. I've never thought of it that way, but that is such a good connection. That's absolutely true, because when we connect to our emotions and our feelings, it gives us a sense and it empowers us to be able to speak our truth and speak and ask for what we want and need. Absolutely.
So I have a question for you. I'm going to flash forward a little bit to the Joie de
Mhm.
Vivre. Am I saying that correct? Counseling center.
Joie de vivre. And, I'm sure that the French would pronounce it even a little bit differently than that, but you're close enough, Charles.
Okay. Um, and for those who don't know, can you describe a little bit about the mission statement of that and how that came to be?
Sure, absolutely. So, after I got my master's degree in professional counseling, I worked a little bit in the community. I did a lot of work, specifically with young adults and children and families for a long time. And then I decided that it was important for me to start my own practice. And I had a special affiliation for women because I had done quite a bit of work at the YWMCA with women who had gone through abuse and trauma, and also working with their kids as well. And so I knew that I really wanted to start a practice that would be empowering for women, but I was also dealing with an illness myself. I had been diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. And so I also wanted to pull in a practice that would support the health of like the mind and the body. And so I decided to start a holistic and mental health counseling practice and pull both of those together. So Joie de Viva is specifically dedicated towards empowering women. And we help women not only through counseling, but we offer other services such as nature therapy, biofeedback, mindfulness, and hypnotherapy as well. And so we try to tailor each treatment and program specifically to our clients' needs. And we also offer individual and couples counseling to women. And we're a small practice, but we have a wonderful team. We have, including me, a total of 4 practitioners who offer and have backgrounds in many different areas in the general field of counseling as well as holistic health.
Wow, Monica, that's so amazing and so huge and so needed that you tailor the individual plan and maybe treatment goals and ways of healing to the client, to the person, and to women. Women who need a space for healing from other women who understand them too. And there's just such a it's just literally talking about this in on a podcast recently of just like the power dynamics that are still embedded in our society in every industry. And I'm just it's really really powerful what you're doing. And I remember just also is going back to just my days as a therapist too, just how one treatment plan does not fit all. I mean,
Yes.
it does not fit all. I mean, the insurance companies like to think that, but it's like, the client will start talking about something that like, oh, they're literally telling you how to heal them. It's like, oh, don't say that. That's not falling in line with what I need to, what I'm being paid to treat you for or being approved for these hours. Like, oh, let's not talk about psychic mediumship. Let's not talk about Reiki
Yes.
healing. Let's not talk, I don't know. Yeah. So I think that's really, really powerful what you're doing. So thank you for your service, Monica, and also such
Thank
a
you.
good staff too. Can I also take a moment to brag on you for a little bit because this is gonna I'm gonna tangent a little bit, but your website is gorgeous. I
Oh, thank you.
Who made your website, your marketing materials, Instagram? It is high quality, high level. I'm a little jelly.
Oh, thank you so much, Charles. Well, so that's where the art and creative part of me comes in because I did design and create my own website and my own marketing materials. So that is all the creative energy. And that's something I love doing. I've been able to pull that into my work is to be creative, have a creative outlet in that way.
Well, everyone go visit the website. It'll give you inspiration. We got video crawl. We've got it's so organized. The font, everything is just so beautiful. So okay, I did have a question, and now I'm going to finally get back to that. In August of 2022, you led a 7-day workshop called The Art of Self-Care. What was that
Yes.
experience like, and how are we doing with that in our society?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. As we all know, self-care is so important to each and every one of us. And, since the beginning of COVID, we've all gone through, I think, so many upheavals and changes. If you were not, touched by COVID, I think that you might have been off the grid somewhere. But for most of us, we've really been touched profoundly by and impacted by all of the changes culturally, socially, racially, spiritually, um, from the shifts that have been happening in the world since then. And there's so much that has come up and continues to come up. But from a spiritual perspective, we know that it's all important and needed. It's part of the process of growth that we're moving forward to. But the self care is so important because um, when we don't take time to stop and connect with ourselves and really tune into what we're feeling and needed, we are overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed in being able to not only give to ourselves, we're overwhelmed to the point that we're not able to give and connect with others. And we
Mm.
need kindness. We need real kindness and empathy in this world. And how can we give kindness and empathy to others if we're not giving kindness and empathy to ourselves?
Oh my goodness. Well, I got chills right now when you said that. Made me very, very, very emotional. And and probably part of the reason I'm emotional right now is just there's that disconnect from ourselves and our spirit and how long that's
Mhm.
been going on for. And
Yes.
something emotional about finding your way back. But people don't have a compass or the map right now. A lot of people don't, unless they're fortunate to find themselves working with you or at a center like yours that is offering a retreat like this and giving these some of these like basic tools.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, what are some basic tools that people can start today to? Because I always say that we're not taught, how to practice self care, self love. Um, because we're taught to, if anything, we're taught to be giving and being of service to others, but not ourselves. And we get rewarded for that. We get rewarded for doing overtime hours at our job, sacrificing sometimes our own health. Where does someone start? Because it sounds like a almost like a massive like programming that has been going on for years and years and years. And I love that you brought up the socioeconomic part of it too, of just people and just culturally, and it's just so ingrained. How do we break out of that matrix? How do we start breaking free from that? There is a place and time that exists where I get to take up space.
Yes, absolutely. I really love that question. And thank you for asking that, Charles. So we can only receive and give the love that we first give to ourselves. So it has to start with us. And for many of us, we may not have received the self care or the love that we needed as children from our parents or from our caregivers. But as adults, it's important for us to take responsibility for ourselves and to reparent and love ourselves in any way that we did not get from our parents so that we can heal those wounds, those childhood wounds, um, and heal the relationships from our early relationships in past. So I believe that there's a couple different steps that can be really important to moving towards not only self-care, and I do want to differentiate between self-care and loving ourselves. So self-care can be any number of activities that we can engage in that can bring us a sense of peace, relaxation, joy, happiness. Um, it can be something as simple as going on a walk and being in nature, to perhaps going to the gym and exercising. That is taking care of our bodies or our minds. Self-love is a little different in that self-love is about an emotional connection with ourselves. So if you go on a walk in nature and you are talking to yourself and you're asking yourself, how do I feel in this moment right now? Then you're doing both self-care and self-love. But if you're just going on that nature walk and just enjoying nature, you're not connecting to your emotions and your feelings, then you're not really engaging in emotional self connection, which is what leads us to self love. And so that's very, very important. So I have a few steps. The first one is just to practice an open communication and listening with ourselves. Go within. Um, be introspective. Sometimes that can mean like finding a quiet space. It can include journaling, but what you really want is to be fully honest and transparent with yourself and know what you are feeling. The second one is to be empathetic, compassionate, and non judgmental with yourself. All too often, we have negative self talk, we are judgmental, we don't give ourselves the grace that we need to. And so it's important to be kind and to be responsive to our feelings. Step three is to actively respond to those needs. So if you think of reparenting your inner child, the love that your inner child did not get, your inner child may be saying, I really am feeling sad right now. And as the adult, you're saying, shh, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to listen to you talk, right? What we want is to be responsive to those feelings, responsive to those needs. Invite our inner child in. Tell me more. Tell me more about why you're sad. I'm here as your adult self to listen to you and to be the parent that you didn't receive in this moment. The next step is to practice self reflection. So we have to take some level of responsibility for our joy and for our happiness in life. And we don't want to always blame others for our unhappiness. It's true, we need to be prudent in setting good boundaries. It's true, we need to be prudent in knowing what we're responsible for and what other people are responsible for. But it's important to look at every situation and ask yourself, what part of this am I responsible for? Is there anything that I can do to help move me towards my own joy and my own happiness? And lastly, and part of loving yourself is to just ignite your fire. You want to allow the positive feelings, the joy that you connect to be the driving force behind all your life decisions, to act on your positive feelings rather than the expectations or the needs that other people may have of us or around us. Because sometimes other people don't always see us or want what's best for us. So we need to make those decisions for ourselves and follow our joy.
Let's end it there because
Okay.
this is the day they taught everything. This is the day we learned everything. So if y'all didn't show up to class today, Monica, I have got chills. I got chills. Those are such powerful steps, and I'm positive that many people like who would listen to those steps may have done one but not all of them, or maybe have done maybe two but not all of them, or are still working on one of those steps, because these steps, when linked together, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the best way that I could describe how I heard what you said. It's almost like a completion process of repairing and unlearning and getting back to who you are again.
Absolutely. The full authenticity of who you are as a spiritual being.
Oh my goodness, that's it was really, 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 really touched me when you talked about kind of like lighting that fire again. giving yourself the opportunity to win when nobody else says that you can. And by the way, like, it's
Yes.
great to have goals, and when you find that passion and you give yourself space to to light the fire, it's okay not to tell everybody what your goals are. Like,
Yes.
it's okay to, it's okay to keep some things to yourself, because that will open you up sometimes to other energies and other people's opinions, envy, like, that they don't want to see you win sometimes.
This is true. When we start living our life for ourselves and start living outside of other people's expectations, not everybody is happy with what we're doing, and we have to be okay with that. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Monica, I do want to ask you one last question, if you don't mind sharing. If you feel comfortable sharing,
Sure.
I happen to know that you might be in the early stages of building, prepping, organizing, envisioning right now, which might be maybe later on down the road something that you're working on for the next path for you, um, a larger project, which might open even more throat chakras for people. Do you mind maybe sharing a little bit about that?
Sure, sure. So I am in the very early stages of envisioning a healing center and a retreat of sorts that also offers individual and group therapy, as well as spiritual classes. So we would have nature therapy, qigong, massage, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, somatic body movement, and offer plant medicine and other healing techniques. And we would hold different classes and ceremonies. And the Healing Center is also meant to specialize in healing thyroid, autoimmune, inflammation disease, cancers, and a host of other disease that could be caused by stress or by man-made toxins. So it's really a healing center that is for the mind, the body, and the soul. It's a place where people can heal and cleanse their body and receive rest and rejuvenation as part of the primary mission for the Healing Center. I am currently seeking experienced practitioners who have both a practical and spiritual basis, who would want to get involved to collaborate and have a collective experience with this healing center. And the purpose is really just to invite people into a place of peace, a place of relaxation, where they can get the healing that they need from a specialized team who treats them with care as a human being.
Monica, thank you for sharing that. You truly, truly have a
Mhm.
gift of opening the throat chakra and other people and how you communicate. Because as you're talking, I kid you not, I'm starting, like, literally, it's almost like you're sending these visuals to me. I'm envisioning in my mind with every word that you say, and I'm sure it's even more magnificent than I could even think about, but or even envision.
Thank you.
What a gift! Because I know by you speaking it, you're lighting that fire in somebody else, someone listening to this, someone in your sphere, a healer who specializes in one of those modalities is already on their way to you. You are a force, Monica, and I'm so grateful that you came and onto the Uncaged Mindset podcast, sharing your wisdom, sharing your gift. Masterclass, masterclass in such a short time. You have a gift for so eloquently and so concisely dropping these nuggets that that just that speak to our heart and our soul and our inner heart's knowing and our inner child. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Charles. I've really enjoyed it. And thank you for the opportunity to utilize my throat chakra and to speak and to connect with you and others this morning.
Thank you so much, Monica. So, how can people find you? How can they follow you? How can they follow the Joie de Vivre Counseling for Women Center? How can they just keep up with what you're doing?
Sure, absolutely. So they can find us on our website at www.joiedevivacounselingandtherapy.com. And if they're interested in services, they can click on the link to reserve an appointment. And they can also give us a call at 770-325-2443 or reach out to our Instagram page at Joie de Vivre Women.
Thank you, Monica, Michelle, Manuel. And I'm so excited to see what you do. And I know we'll be seeing more of you. And I can't wait for people to hear this episode. Thank you so much for your light.
Thank you, Charles.